when the kid goes missing, and we think Steve Buscemi's eaten her, it's the empty swing. It's at the start of Face Off, you know, in the in the carousel at the fair. Now you know what is who's the guy?
John Woo.
Yeah, you know, is he you know, less of a creative? You know, is that less creative than what's his Chow Yun Fat? You know, for the first time, jumping through the air, firing 2 guns at the same time in a suit.
Yeah.
You know, is that just as derivative as, you know, any other kind of?
So, I mean, I suppose the question then is, are we saying it's pointless trying to assess creativity? And if that is the case, what do we do? How do we assess students' artistic practical work in media, dance, drama, art, etc.? What are we looking for? Are we just simply looking for technical proficiency, and you say, right, if you're able to do all these things, you get this mark, or does it end up being some kind of impossibly subjective process because every video looks different?
Well, you can teach technical skills, can't you? You know, you can.
Yeah.
You know, these are things, you know, you can technically teach someone how to set up how to compose a shot according to whatever set of rules you want for your aesthetics. You know, you can teach them to technically work on a timeline in a way that means they will be able to manage all their footage and edit the sequence.
Yeah.
You know, distribute their different takes across the video. You can teach them technically, you know, how to. You can teach them technically how to ease in and out an animation in After Effects, so it's got a kind of organic movement to it that you know that works better. That looks. See, now you get into the thing where it works better. It looks more interesting.
Yeah.
You know, it looks more natural. Maybe it looks more natural. Okay, so when the so if you get some text, it floats into the side. Because it's digital, it will stop at the exact point you tell it to stop. So you have to tweak it and put some expression, technically mass expression.
So this is all about the process of teaching people how to do it, and then people actually do it.
And then people go off and do it.
What happens though when you get to the end and the work has to be marked? And in the case of production work for media A level, mark out 60 for construction. How do you decide? How do we know that one piece is worth 40 and another piece is worth 50?
I want to say you just know. Because I think it's something to do. I'm going back to this thing. I think it's something to do with, have they done something with this with the skills that they've learned, with the equipment that they've got, with the kind of repertoire of images and iconography and shots and kind of stereotypes that's in their head. Have they done something with that? Is the combination that they have created there? Is there something fresh? Is there something new about that combination?
Okay.
That then we could then say, you should look at that. When you say to a student next year, you're thinking of doing this idea. Why don't you have a look at that video?
Yeah.
Right. What is it about that video, rather than another one, that is the one that you choose to select?
Okay, right, that's a good point. Now then, let's take it from the other side of the coin. I would say as a moderator, I often see magazine work where I'm immediately inclined to reduce the mark quite considerably because I think they don't look like any magazine that I've ever seen.
Right.
Now they have put photos in, they've laid it out, they've put text in, etc. But it doesn't appear to me to show any awareness of what a magazine is actually like.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm inclined to put their mark down.
it's like this guy.
Am I wrong? Should I be saying, well,
Wait,
actually,
this is some
they've
kind of-
used this repertoire of
Well,
tools in a completely new
Well,
way?
it's different, isn't it? Because if you so what's a magazine is more than just a collection of text, images, typography, white space. That's any print. So's a magazine.
But I might
flyer.
look at it and say, wow, that's really imaginative, but it doesn't look like a magazine,
Right.
so I'm going to fail it.
Yeah. Are you wrong for failing it because it doesn't look like a magazine? What's the standard line? You have to know the rules in order to break them. Is there some way in which they've demonstrated in their planning an awareness of what a traditional magazine using all those elements would look like, and now they've exploded it and kind of pulled it apart and created this kind of deconstructed.
Or has it just happened by accident because they don't know what they're doing?
Because they don't know what they're doing, right? There's a difference between you can take the same clip art and the same Latin text and create a web page and create a flyer and create a magazine article. That's not when I think one.
But you'd have to show awareness of different sets of conventions in order to achieve it.
If you take the kind of available elements, if you wanted to create a kind of that kind of dirty magazine look, rather than jazz mag, I'm talking about the kind of the sort of grungy, type all laid up on each other so you can't see what's actually being written up. That's on the one hand, you take that and you say, right, well, is this student in 2010 producing a 1970s punk fanzine, photocopied, hand-drawn, running them off in their basement or nicking it from at work, and so therefore it has that look. No. Are they aware of that work? Perhaps. Have they taken elements of it? Probably. Are they incorporating it with something that's actually about a kind of, I don't know, post-punk music that's actually referencing some of those earlier styles in the music, so they've made these connections there, and then have they kind of added something? Have they added something?
Just lost Nick there crossing a road. He's okay though.
What have they added? What have they added to the mix? What they've added to the mix is putting these things together in a way that makes it kind of contemporary, but still kind of recalls these kind of echoes. Then I think we would say that's a creative thing. Have what they brought to the mix is, if you take a load of stuff that you just cut and pasted together and stuck it together, you might get a happy accident. It doesn't make you, an abstract expressionist. There's a.
So, in other words, you're kind of looking for creative intentions, knowledge of conventions, and an ability to exploit those things. Quite a lot more, in a sense.
Yeah, I think the idea, the whole. You've got to keep going back to what does if you're going to put creativity in to your, if we're going to ask people to demonstrate creativity, right? Then you either have to say, right, this is what creativity is, which I don't think is kind of impossible, or or you have to kind of agree on a definition. Yeah. Or you have to go, right, well, actually, creativity could be any of these things, couldn't it? Let's say, you've got a creative dress sense. Well, what is that? Is that euphemistic?
For the A2 exam, one of the key words for asking students to write about their own productions across the course and how things have developed is creativity. So you could get a question in the exam that says, discuss the ways in which your creativity has developed through your use of digital technology on this course. And the whole point there is not to say there is a fixed definition of creativity, but to get a student to interrogate that idea. What does that mean? What do I mean by my creativity? What opportunities have I had for my creativity? Because by certain definitions, they might say, I haven't had any chance to be creative at all because I've been making magazines in the style of.